Alrighty then. Welcome back to Her Lie I Tried to Believe. And man, why did I have to come back to this? Like it's been like more than a couple years since I recorded the first part. And looking back to the video that I recorded, man, I ain't looking forward to finishing this up. That's for damn sure. I mean, my friend who goes by Wag Kubu, I think that's the right pronunciation to go by, but he finished reading this up, so I'm like, you know what? I might as well finish it up after for so long. Man, the game, the game has a toxic relationship. It's just unbearable. Uh, I might as well continue. So this is the second chapter, by the way. I have to like click through. I have to save to where I left off. Anyway, 2 years. It took 2 years before I saw her again. And by the way, I had to like refix the Steam notifications to like disable them. It's been so long since I used the Steam client. It took 2 years before I saw her again. By that time, I was well underway on my major, and I was starting to get used to the lifestyle of the university. Oh, great. It's university years. Oh, man. I was living on my own in a gloomy one-room apartment for less than a year. I had zero passion and only knew how to do one thing correctly, which of course was studying, as if I was the target of a curse a long time ago. I really didn't know why I was so into it. Yeah, a lot of doors would probably open up to me in the future, but what if I didn't want to enter any of them? I had no motivation to climb up the ladder, and I certainly wouldn't have known what to do with all the money being thrown at me. But I guess that even this type of attitude can attract some people. It was as if they knew that talking to you would inevitably boost their own self esteem. That was how I made my first friend since, well, have I ever had a friend before? And, if you excuse me, I gotta turn off the cursor. Sorry about that, people. It's been so long since I did like window recording. Anyway, that was how I made my first friend since, well, have I ever had a friend? Man, well, considering how you act, I'm not surprised you don't have friends. Not that I saw him as a friend in the first place. He was in most of my classes during high school and took that as an so-called opportunity to start socializing with me during our courses together. I went with the flow, finding my own amusement in his somewhat carefree demeanor. That's when one day, out of nowhere, God, I don't know where he decided to invite me to this. I don't remember how to pronounce it. I can't call it a date, so a group date, maybe? Fuck it. Anyway, it was this thing where a group of men and women of the same age and logically in equal numbers meet each other for almost the first time in an attempt to find love. Wow, love. It was obviously a cheap excuse to try to find somebody to empty your load into, but to empty your load of, oh, man. But whatever. At the point I was at, it didn't matter all that much. Trying to fuck someone was, as most men my age, well, any age really, one of my priorities, even though pretty much inaccessible. I didn't go out of my way to try and have sex, and that's probably the reason why I had no sex life. So I accepted. He was kind of odd though. He said to me, "You won't regret it, Tim. I even have a surprise waiting for you." Then laughed like an imbecile. He was an imbecile. It was only when I entered the bar where we were meeting that I understood the full meaning of his words. Well, pretty fancy bar. Why did I right click? There were seven. Sorry, I got a little cough there. There, there were, they were 7 people at the table already, waiting for me, which means we were a party of 8, 4 boys and 4 girls. Let me see here. The sound is a little bit too loud. There we go. 2 of those girls were completely unattractive, fat, or with a big chin and a weird hairstyle. The other one was already almost in bed with the big mouth guys, so those three were unfuckable. That was my first thought upon entering the bar. My second thought wasn't dissimilar to the previous one, but it was still very surprising indeed. It was her. Well, lucky you. She was there drinking a beer, casually talking with another dude, a sports-like type. Well, sounds like from any generic show. Another one who's unfuckable, but of course, not for the same reasons. Man, they really love to use the word unfuckable, huh? I should just get out of here. This is so pitiful, it's not even funny. That's when Mike, my friend, noticed my arrival and forcefully introduced me to the group. Oh, this is the guy I was talking about. Hey, Tim. Come on, don't be shy. We were waiting for you. I almost clicked my tongue out loud, but quickly decided otherwise. Maybe the big chinned one could be unfuckable after a couple of beers and in the dark. I sat next to my friend. I tried not to look over to the right hand side of the table too much, because the symmetry irritated me somehow. He said my name out loud before introducing everybody else from left to right. I don't remember any of their names, and seriously, I didn't want to use even the most useless part of my brain to do so. All the name, I still greeted everyone politely until it came to that name, that is. I could introduce you to Cassandra, but I guess I don't have to, right? Well, I already know the name, apparently. I glare at him, not hiding any my displeasure in the slightest. He's clearly excited to see my reaction, as though my meeting her again will make me happy of all things, as if it's a gift or something. How the fuck does he know that I have a history with her anyway? Well, you didn't know? Well, I'm pretty sure since high school, obviously. What do you mean, how the fuck does he know? I said, yeah, all the while scratching my cheek, a bit flustered. Similarly, she didn't look my way all that much and only said hi in a voice that could have easily been misconstrued as a whisper. I was grateful for that. Even though I had harbored hatred for her for the greatest part of my life, and probably still do, the fact that she understood my reluctance to face her was what saved the little composure I had left. Man, it did. Man, maybe that's why I didn't want to come back to this, because there's. Oh man, I look. I'm pretty sure I skimmed through the first part and trying to figure out why he doesn't he hates her. Oh, what the fuck, dude? I'm glad I'm gonna finish it eventually. So even though she was right there on the other side of the table, I was still able to enjoy myself by drinking and chatting with those around me. Her presence didn't disturb me in the slightest, I swear. It's just that in the heat of the moment, I was kind of caught off guard, that's all. Yeah, sure you do. After all, it's not like I understood the complexity of my feelings for her anymore. I had hated her for so long that by the end of high school, I had completely dehumanized her in my mind. Added to that, the fact that she had completely disappeared from my life at one point led me to assume that she was dead. Yikes. Fucking. Yeah, Tim is a fucking edgelord, dude. So it was only natural that I would be baffled by a non human presumed dead person looking so lively and cheerful. Yeah, that's a good reason. She was sexy. Well, you just admitted that, so that doesn't surprise me at all. No longer just cute or beautiful, but sexy. She had on a blue shirt, which accentuated her overly seductive curves, while a black skirt that I couldn't see very well because of the table, and her hair was loose and ended just a bit under her chest. I heard there was like a extended edition for it on Steam, and I was like, yeah, fuck it. Why would I pay money for that fucking shit? I tried as best I could not to look her way, but it was hard when surrounded by ugly girls. Oh my, you don't even know because it's all like still in black. Still, I did what I must and tried to hook up with the chin girl in front of me. After an hour and a half, I was on my fourth beer, and the first newly formed so-called couple had decided to finish the night on their own. This made things a bit complicated for me. Now the only ones left for me, the fat girl. Oh my friend, the big chin, the sports dude, and Kaz, whatever, the other girl that I want to. And I bet he was so baffled that he can't even pronounce the names that you already know since the very beginning. So obviously it became harder and harder not to interact with her. That's when the phone of the girl in front of me, Chin, started vibrating. She became kind of hysterical by the text. I think there was a text that she received on her phone. She said a couple of words to the fat girl seated next to her and took off. The fat girl looked at me a bit awkwardly and said, "Sorry, her ex just texted her so," as if her reaction was the most understandable thing in the world. So that ugly chick just dumped me for a guy that had probably flushed her a while ago. I was depressed, but not about her departure per se, obviously. At least the alcohol had begun to do its work. That's when the night started taking a turn for the worse. My friend, who was seated on my left in front of the fat chick, was now seated on my right. The sports dude who had been chatting with that girl before was now enjoying his time with the fat girl on my left. It was then that I realized that my friend, without as much as a warning, had started a group conversation with her and me. "So, how long have you two known each other?" I was staring blankly at the table, or maybe at the beer in my hand, trying as best I could not to look interested. I think she answered him with something and then giggled, but I don't remember it all too well. She seemed to be drinking quite heavily, too. "That long? Man, you must be glad to have a chance to see each other like this after so long. Maybe it's fate, who knows?" He was irritating me. It was so obvious that he was the one behind it all. Perhaps they had planned this together in order to humiliate me or something. That's when I uttered something that I probably shouldn't have. I still don't know why I thought this was a great idea. What, you don't know? Tell me. I glared at him with perceivable defiance. How did you know that she and I knew each other anyway? I analyzed his every change in expression. I probably thought he would be flustered by my sudden inquiry, that he would start stuttering, unable to explain himself coherently. But to the contrary, he was surprised that I didn't know the reason behind it. "Come on, man. Everyone in high school probably knew about it. Don't you remember? That nasty girl and her group of friends who started all those awful rumors about Cass the moment she quit school?" Ah, fuck, now I remember. Oh man, I remember still. You were so ruthless. You walked up to those girls and started insulting the shit out of them about how uneducated they were and about the fact that they were wasting their time and had no future. And then you started listing every achievement Cass had ever accomplished. From the prize she won in some piano competition, I think, to the national ranking that she topped with her academic performance. You know I'm not the type that would ever hit a girl or anything, but this one was just asking for it. She didn't even try to listen to what you were saying at all, and kept on cutting you off, talking some bullshit that she heard somewhere down the street. How ridiculous, really. This was when I was still very much on edge about losing what I had thought was my only drive in this world. Some bitches were bad mouthing her, something along the lines of prostitution or some stupid shit like that. Yep, some retarded ass high school drama shit. It was 2 months after she'd suddenly quit school, so anything goes, I guess. But then, since they had nothing else more useful to do with their starry little lives, they started some baseless rumors about her cheating during exams or offering sexual bribery to the teachers in order to get a higher ranking in midterms. Man, everything's all fucking stereotypes in high school, huh? That's when I lost my shit, because telling those ridiculous things insinuated that the rival I had always seen as my equal was in reality nothing more than a fake, and that was completely unacceptable. And yes, I would have beaten the shit out of him if it hadn't been for his teacher stepping in. "Hey Tim, man, Tim is had to be the most jaded ass MC ever." Good lord. You, hey Tim, do you remember when what you shouted at her to make her shut up? Yeah, he has no words. "Enough. Even if she cheated during the midterms or prostituted herself, it wouldn't change the fact that she's way better than a lot of you. At least she achieved everything she ever set out to do. You low-life bitches will never understand the meaning of the term achievement for as long as you still live in this world. You understand? You worthless piece of shit." I ain't bothering yelling that out. You know, what considering that the person who wrote the VN, I'm surprised they didn't add the word cunt in there. I remember it down to the very last syllable. I have no fucking idea why though. He said it out loud, not nearly as perfectly as I remembered it, but it was still very surprising to hear it from someone else's mouth. I did instantly notice that she had started to flush the moment she understood the meaning behind those words. This was bad. This was a misunderstanding. I never said any of this to protect her. I only said it because that moment I knew for a fact that you were head over heels for her, and I found it so tragic that you had probably never had the chance to say it to her. So now you can understand why, when I met her out of absolutely nowhere at my part-time job. He points casually towards her. I had to try and organize something for the both of you. Well, he's not wrong on doing that. So that's why you invited me here tonight? Well, no, I was then on my fifth beer. I was not what we could call a heavy drinker back then. So I was flustered, alright, but I don't think people actually noticed it, as it was probably easily concealed by my wasted features, which were much more prominent than anything else. Yeah, man, why else? We're friends, right? You look down all the time, so I thought this might cheer you up. You shouldn't have. Seriously, you shouldn't have. You fucking idiot. Wow. The whole time, she didn't say anything. She just looked at me silently with what I can probably guess is a light smile on her face. Of course, I couldn't be sure when I wasn't actually reciprocating her stares. Still, I wondered why she kept quiet when we were openly talking about all those things which were directly related to her. Then, oh, that's my girlfriend texting. Sorry guys, gotta go. My useless friend got up to his feet in a hurry. Useless? Well, at least he tried to set you up, set it up for you guys. Just like, come on. What? What do you mean? You have a girlfriend? What was this entire date all about then? Yeah, tonight was for you, man. He walked up to me and laid his hand on my shoulder carelessly, before whispering into my ear with his warm and foul breath. Enjoy yourself, will you? And with this, before another word could leave my mouth, he disappeared in the blink of an eye. Well, he didn't actually disappear, but I was intoxicated to the point where the actions around me were registering in my mind as though, in fast forward, life and time were moving rapidly without my consent. This was extremely awkward. In a desperate attempt to end the night then and there, I turned my eyes toward the last remaining couple to ask them what their plans were for the night, but hey, have you any idea what? There was no longer anyone seated next to me. Agitatedly, my eyes scanned my surroundings. That's when it dawned on me. Only she and I were left at the table. Well, now's your chance to not be an asshole. They took off 10 minutes ago, maybe. Or was it 15? For the first time that night, I made eye contact with her. Her face was flushed slightly red, probably due to all the alcohol she'd been hammering. It would have been visible to a blind that she was totally wasted. I didn't want to speak to her. I didn't want to waste another minute in her presence. But social etiquette was forcing me to, at the very fucking least, ensure that she didn't die before reaching her destination. Let's get out of here, I uttered coldly. She accepted right away. She didn't show any kind of fear about being alone with me, even though we were, without the shadow of a doubt, complete strangers. You should take a taxi, I said forcefully, but she quickly dismissed my words and then said cheerfully, let's walk for a bit, alright? I clicked my tongue, but this time I made sure she heard it all right. She didn't seem to mind, or at the very least, if she did, she didn't show it. And if things get any worse, she had a smile plastered on her face ever since we left the bar and was not affected in the slightest by my cold behavior. God, it's been like 19 minutes. I've been still reading this. By my cold behavior. Good lord. She looked happy, irritatingly so. We didn't talk at all. This walk she had suggested she was made in complete silence. That was fine by me. It was probably for the best, to be honest, I thought, for the first time that night, that maybe everything would turn out fine after all. Until she accidentally stumbled a bit onto my shoulder, that was. Ah, sorry. Her body touched mine. For the extremely small 2 seconds that it lasted, I felt the form of her breast on my arm, and then the palm of her hand on my shoulder. It was then that I realized she was a member of the opposite sex. What, you weren't aware of that? She looks happy, doesn't she, with the happiness she stole from me. If she hadn't quit school that day, I'm sure our expressions would have been reversed right now. Yet, she was always the one with the smile in the end, while we continue walking silently, but somehow we are closer now that I have helped her back onto her feet. Wait a minute, isn't this one of those kinds of situations? You know, the one where I walked her to the closest hotel and she's too wasted to understand what's going on? Maybe if I ask her nicely, she would even follow me willingly? Maybe she's still a virgin? Wouldn't that be wonderful? I couldn't satisfy myself by taking away her pride. Back then, but what about now? I could probably rape her and take everything away from her. Her pride, and most of all, that smile. My member starts to become erect at these simple thoughts. It's a bit uncomfortable as my jeans are too tight for it to grow to its full potential. No wonder it got a warning disclaimer at the beginning, huh? I take another hard look at her. Yes, yes, what a beautiful body she has. Those hips and those breasts. Even her lips seem obscene right now. It would be a total shame for this indecent body of hers to be defiled by a complete stranger. Every inch would be stained, her purity gone forever. She would never have the opportunity to feel clean again. I could probably violate her over and over again until her mind becomes as hollow as mine. I didn't even know this fucking VN is a hentai. It's like TVMA style of it. Now my manhood has reached its full magnitude. It throbs intensely in the anticipation for this forbidden act that my thoughts are drowning themselves in. One simple look at me would have probably given it away, but she's too preoccupied with trying to walk straight to even look in my direction. Imagining the pressure that I have in my pants right now, tainted as it is with the sin of my vile imagination, penetrating her pure body aggressively, over and over again without restraint, only pushes me further down this unforgiving path that shouldn't be crossed. But I've already decided, haven't I? I'm already fantasizing about her virginity, increasing by that mean the pain I would most definitely inflict on her. This sounds like a fucking fan fiction at this point. My goodness. I want to make her cry at the realization of losing something she will never get back. At that moment, I will lick every last tear from her face until she's completely drained out. My hand approaches her thighs slowly. If I could just get my hand around it to help her keep her balance as an excuse, I could easily control our destination. That moment would seal her fate. Then I would rip that smile from her perfect face. Maybe at the end of the day, I would even be satisfied enough to forgive her. Maybe at the end of the day, I would finally become whole again. My only regret is not acting the part from the start of the night. If I had pretended to be gentle and caring, had laughed with her about how stupid and young we were back then, I could have pushed her even further down the road of complete hopelessness by betraying even her expectations. I Her soft voice come to my ears out of nowhere. I abruptly stopped my hand from going any further. I didn't notice because of how captivated I was by her alluring form, but she was looking right back at me, looking at my face, of all places. How long has she been looking? I have no idea, but she saw it. That, I'm sure of it. My disgusting expression, already corrupting every inch of her body with my blank, senseless eyes. She saw everything, yet the only thing she thinks of saying is, I'm sorry. I knew how much you hated me, yet I. Then she stumbled on me once again, with this time with even less restraint. Her eyes. Those eyes, I remember. Have they really been this way the whole night? Can't be. I stopped. I can't even pronounce the word. I stopped brusquely, and she soon followed suit. Do you have any money? I asked mechanically. Not much, she replied blankly, as though knowing the question would be asked eventually. Can't be helped then. I took out my phone and input a string of numbers, in the same mechanical fashion in which I'd been handling her the the whole night. What are you doing? I bet he's gonna call out fucking Uber for some dumb shit like that. I didn't reply to her. I didn't even look her way. Instead, yes, yes, at the intersection of, and I put my phone away emotionlessly. Tim, I thought, I thought it would have been nice to talk for a bit, but don't you wanna? She seems let down. What does this woman want from me? Didn't she see my face just a second ago? Is she that desperate to be raped by some loser like me? Wow. Once again, no wonder there was some negative reviews on the fucking Steam page. A toxic relationship. Like me? I take my wallet out, grab two $20 bills, and shove them into her hand violently. The taxi will be here in 5 minutes. This should cover the bill. I turn around without waiting for a reply, or saying goodbye for that matter. She doesn't say anything either. She simply looks at me with those eyes. Those eyes, which are even colder than mine. Well then. Chapter 3. And an unexpected encounter. Oh my goodness, man. Like, what the fuck? You know what? Fucking saving this bitch. Yeah, it's been 26 minutes. But I'm just gonna end it from here. So, next part. I guess I have to do more of this. So, rate, comment, and subscribe, and or like, that is. And I'll see you later.